So this elevator pitch is on the impact of implementing project-based learning and inquiry strategies, and how that will impact student engagement and achievement. So to introduce my topic, this next year I would like to focus on incorporating PBL into my practice. We took a course this last, 2 semesters ago, or 2 quarters ago, that introduced me to a lot of new strategies, and I really want to incorporate them into my practice next year, instead of just assigning essays or written responses to the content. In addition, I want to focus more on inquiry learning and get students to do more of the heavy lifting. A concern I have is that most of the resources that we looked at, it seemed like the students were in areas that were higher economic status and were not as socioeconomically disadvantaged as the students I will be teaching next year. I'm concerned that students in urban areas are not receiving these same kinds of strategies compared to students in suburban areas with more middle class, um, more middle class families and parents that have a higher level of ability to engage in their child's education. Many students in the urban schools that I have taught in, particularly in Oakland, are motivated more by compliance rather than true engagement. So when I think about the levels of engagement, most students are not intrinsically engaged or motivated to learn new content. They do it because of some kind of compliance, either because they are trying to avoid getting in trouble, or because they view it as like, this is something I have to do in order to get to something else. It's not because they actually have interest or joy in the learning experience. So the research of the text, as I said, mostly have come from middle class or higher communities, or seem to be some kind of insulated study in which experts have come in and kind of done a reform of the classroom and worked with a small group of students rather than in a large urban classroom with a huge number of students. So here's what I hope. Found this graphic online, and here's what I hope that for all of my students is that they develop these ways of thinking more creatively, that they develop these 21st century skills, that they're able to make big connections, they can solve problems on their own, that they work more collaboratively and are willing to explore, and that's what I'm hoping that students will gain. So I really liked this graphic because it showed some of those risks and rewards that I want them to have access to. So one thing I want to do as part of this project would be to interview teachers in urban areas about their experiences with project-based learning, as well as with inquiry learning, and as well as what teaching methods they've tried and how effective they found them or what problems they've come across. I'd also like to interview students to see if they've experienced project-based learning and what their definition of what does it mean when asked to do a project. So I'm hoping that these interviews will provide some good context for the lessons that I'm planning and help me to strengthen my goal setting with students and my own aptitude towards doing project-based learning. So the context of where this research would occur is in Oakland, California. 94% of the students at my new school are socioeconomically disadvantaged. I'll be teaching 7th grade English language arts and social studies. And as far as the diverse population, it's primarily African American and Latino students with a small set of Pacific Islander students as well, Tongans and Samoan students. But it's primarily, as I said, African American and Latino. In addition, 40% of those students at the school are English learners. 0% of students in the entire school are exceeding or meeting standards for English language arts, which means that there are severe deficits in students' ability to both access content and students' ability to produce written responses to content. So, and then in addition, the school is in the red, and there's a graphic on the California Department of Education, and the school is in the red for both suspension rates and attendance. So those will be some issues that will impact the efficacy of the study and my ability to implement project-based learning and things that I need to plan for. So my hypothesis is that it will benefit students in the following ways. I'm hoping that it'll benefit students' levels of engagement. It'll increase their attendance. It will improve achievement. There have been some articles I've read that say that that's possible. Also improvement of 21st century skills like collaboration, creativity, and media literacy. And in addition, for my own self, I believe it will make my job more interesting than the day-to-day work. So it'll give a chance for me to find more joy in my teaching. Some concerns about students' preparedness for project-based learning is that some lack of skills. So first, the things that I need to develop in the classroom is a sense of community and trust. Next, I want to establish group norms for collaborative groups. And additionally, I want to improve the organizational skills and systems within the classroom so that students, as they're doing a project that lasts over several days, that their materials aren't getting lost in between, which is a huge problem with middle schoolers when you try to do larger work that's connected day to day. There seems to be a lack of connectedness between one day and the next, that students view each day as almost like its own separate capsule, and they have a hard time holding on to materials over a set period of time. So I want to improve the capacity and develop those organizational skills. Additionally, I'm worried about a student's level of growth mindset. Project-based learning is designed to create a sense of it's risky and it's going to increase a student's kind of fear in the project, but with that kind of risk, there's also reward. So it's going to be necessary to make sure that I focus on working on a mindset shift. For example, don't focus on I did this wrong, but instead focus on next time we need to, and don't focus so much on the end product, but instead focusing the praise and all of the main part of the grading, even because a lot of the kids view the grade as like the reason why on the process of it. So rather than grading the end result, it's going to need to be focused on grading how they're doing in the day by day and how well they're working together, and grading those kinds of things within the process. So in planning, it's not possible. I have a lot of discomfort personally around project-based learning. I have discomfort in both areas of noise and mess. And so it's not going to be possible to change my teaching methodologies overnight. So there needs to be some kind of planning about how to do this in a way that makes sense and in a way that can be sustainable for me, and not just I did this, I tried this, it was too hard, and I'm not going to do it again. So there's some things that I want to plan in that process. In the first year of implementation, I don't want to try to plan the entire year around project-based learning, but instead just plan 2 big units around project-based learning within the year, and maybe 10 lessons or so that are like mini project-based learning opportunities to help them prepare with getting those necessary collaboration skills, organizational skills that I talked about previously. In subsequent years, I will plan additional units as I increase my competency and my ability to be comfortable with project-based learning. An additional need is that I would also like to seek out additional professional development and in-person workshops to support implementation with other educators who are at a similar stage of implementation as I am, and as well as educators who have more experience, so that I can both learn from and learn with other teachers and develop some kind of support network to help me think of ideas of how to implement. So that is the end of my elevator pitch for the impact of implementing project-based learning and inquiry strategies on student engagement and achievement. Thank you and have a great day.